Moses. Maybe proceed. It's not that. Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
Let us have the statement by Senator Professor Tom Odhiambo. Ojienda. If he is not allowed to go to the next one, Senator Izena Lemaletian. Okay, next is Senator Mohamed Chute. Senator, what? Sorry? Okay. Senator Samson, issue a statement and standing on the 52-1.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker, for that intelligence. Statement on the issue of general topical concern, the death of Kenya's most decorated boxer, Mr. Philip Waruinge, from Nakuru County. Mr. Speaker, sir, I raise pursuant to Standing Order 52-1 to make a statement on the issue of general topical concern and national importance, namely the passing on of one of Kenya's most decorated boxer, Mr. Philip Waruinge. Mr. Speaker, sir, Mr. Philip Waruinge, legend, who died on 19 October 2020, was born on 3rd February 1945. He was a legendary boxer who represented our country in various boxing events in the world arena. He started his boxing career in the late 1960s at the historic Madison Square Garden in Nakuru town, now Nakuru City County, and became a renowned boxer admired by many. He was the first African boxer to win the coveted Fal Baka Trophy in the 1968 Olympics Games. Mr. Speaker, sir, Waruinge turned professional boxer in 1973 as a super bantamweight and fought largely in Japan. In 1976, he attempted to take the World Boxing Championship bantamweight title in boxing match against Carlos Zarate of Mexico, but was outclassed and was knocked out in the 4th round. 2 years later, he decided to retire, having competed in 25 professional bouts, winning 14, losing 10, and drawing 1. Mr. Speaker, sir, it is unfortunate that Kenya has lost a legend who died as a poor man despite the glory he brought to the country. I will not relent in calling on the Ministry of Sports to be concerned about sportsmen and women to ensure such patriots are accorded decent lives even after they retire. Mr. Speaker, this Philip Waruinge did fly the Kenyan flag for the longest time possible, having won in several Olympic championships when he participated when he was a young man. He died a poor man, dejected, and no support from government, even pension. Mr. Speaker, allow me, on behalf of the great people of Nandi, where we have the source of champions, and on behalf of Kenyan people and the Senate Republic, to pass my sincere condolences and those of the great people of Nandi to the family of the late Philip Waruinge and the entire boxing fraternity. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
I can see several requests. Is it concerning the statement by Waruinge? Is Senator Nderitu Kinyu?
Asanti, Bwana Spika. Nataka kuunga mkono taarifa hiyo ya mwana masumbwi aliyebombea sana. Na Bwana Spika, kila wakati hawa wana michezo wetu huwa wanasifika tu wakati wanafanya ile shughuli yao ya kama ni huyu mwana masumbwi Waruinge, kwa sababu alibombea sana katika mambo ya masumbwi, akapokea hata shahada nyingi. Lakini kitu cha kuvunja moyo ni ya kwamba baada ya wao kupeleka jina ya Kenya katika sehemu nyingi, ni Kenya ikajulikana sana na ikavuma. Baada ya hapo, Bwana Spika, unapata hawakumbuki, unapata wanaendelea kusononeka katika shida tofauti, ilhali ni watu ambao walifanya nchi yetu kujulikana, wakaiuza kila mahali tukajulikana. Si Waruinge peke yake, unapata mwana masumbwi kama huyu Conjestina Ocheng, hata vile vile alijulikana, alifanya Kenya kajulikana. Lakini Bwana Spika, baada ya hayo yote inakuwa hawakumbukwi. Kwa hivyo vile ambavyo ningependa kuomba Bwana Spika, ni kamati ambayo itashughulikia haya maneno, yashughulikie ndio hawa watu ambao wamefanya Kenya kajulikana kila mahali waweze kuwa wakifidiwa, Bwana Spika, hata familia zao, kwa sababu baada ya wao kuuza Kenya, kufanya julikane kila mahali na kuenea, inabaki ni familia zao zinabaki katika hali ya uchochole na wale wana masumbwi ama wachezaji wetu walifanya Kenya kujulikana. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, jambo hili chukuliwe kwa makini yofa, na nataka kumpongeza Senator Cherargei kwa sababu yeye anashughulikia wanyonge na anaongea mambo yao hapa. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, nashukuru na namuunga mkono. Asante.
Senator Mgatana Danson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to join the Honorable Senator Cherargei in extending my condolences to the famed boxer, Mr. Waruinge. Mr. Speaker, we grew up watching these gentlemen, including another one known as Stephen Muchoki. When we were younger, these people used to entertain us. They brought a lot of glory to this nation. It is sad to learn from these statements that, Mr. Speaker, our Mr. Waruinge, this famed boxer, has died a poor man. Yet, Mr. Speaker, the National Assembly passed a law, the Sports Act, that created a fund. And that fund, Mr. Speaker, was supposed to develop talent and facilities. Mr. Speaker, initially nobody thought that it was going to collect as much money as it did. when Treasury saw that there was money there, that fund was somehow manipulated, Mr. Speaker, and now only 35% of that goes to sports. We are told that some of it has gone to health, some of it has gone to the arts, and yet, Mr. Speaker, the original intention of the Sports Act, when at that time Ababu Namwamba was the Minister for Sports, was so that we can create a fund which could take care of our people who have brought glory to us. Mr. Speaker, as we celebrate this gentleman on his passing away, and as we remember, it is, I think, upon us to look again what happened, what was the mistake, how did Treasury repossess all those funds? Why is it that they are managing sports funds from the Treasury, yet the Sports Act envisaged differently? Mr. Speaker, I beg to support. Thank you.
Senator Ososi Ngonfli.
Mr. Speaker, I didn't want to contribute to this. I'm waiting to make my statement. But all the same, I support Senator Cherege and the other speakers for the effort of this boxer in promoting boxing in the country.
Senator Sifuna Edwin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Allow me to join my colleagues who have spoken before me to send my condolences to our late hero, Rwinge. But, Mr. Speaker, you know what I would want this country to move away from is this culture where we only come here to mourn and celebrate people when they have left, and then pontificate about all the nice things that we were supposed to do for them that we didn't do for them. I think it is largely embarrassing for us as a country that we only highlight the plight of the people who bring glory to this country when they have already left us. As in, what is the point of all this? There was a bishop or a preacher who was saying, he sees when you die, they find 6 heavy men or women who carry your casket. On that final journey, he says, he doesn't need 6 friends. He wishes that he had those 6 friends when he was alive. People who would carry him whenever he was low, whenever he was down, whenever he was struggling, whenever he was doubting, whenever things were difficult, Mr. Speaker. As we speak, and over the weekend, Mr. Speaker, there is a delegation that came to my office. The delegation is the coaching staff of our national rugby team. They are called the Kenya Lionesses. Mr. Speaker, this is an active national team representing and bringing glory to this country. They are scheduled for the World Cup qualifiers and the African region qualifiers in Kampala this weekend, Mr. Speaker. And even as we speak, the government of Kenya has not given a single shilling to the Kenya Lionesses who are supposed to bring glory to us. But should something happen to these people, by bad luck, we will be here. Oh, we celebrate them. Oh, they have brought glory to us. They are national heroes. Honorable Cherargei, please, you know, for us, because we do not have the purse strings, Mr. Speaker.
So just a minute. I want to at least guide me, the member for Lamu. You cannot close the floor that. You just go direct to the bar, then you come this side. No, go up to the bar, then you proceed, Senator Sifuna.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The point that I was making is that we, in the minority party, had made certain promises that had we won the election and been in control of the purse strings, these people who bring glory to this country, after they finish, their tour of duty, should be actively involved, even as civil servants and public servants, so that they can continue earning something, because they have already done enough for this country. We would like, Mr. Speaker, that we celebrate these heroes now. Mheshimiwa Cherargei, as we bid farewell to the great boxer Rwinge, please, I want to plead with you, and I wish my sister Karen Nyamu was here, because I called her about this matter of the Kenya Lionesses. Can we also extend support to these people who bring us glory while they are still alive, so that we can come back here next week to celebrate the Kenya Lionesses having qualified for the World Cup and bringing more glory to the country. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Is Senator ready to join? What is it? What is out of order?
Mr. Speaker, I listened to the good senator. He referred to Cherargei, and I thought the best person to help him was the majority leader, Senator Cheriot. He would have helped him more with what he's requiring instead of my good friend Cherargei. But anyway, that's okay.
Majority Whip, Senator Boni Karwale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious matter. All the things that have been spoken to by the distinguished senator in respect of this fallen hero and in connection with others and other related sporting issues to this matter are true. But as we request that the government intervenes and supports the family during these very difficult times, let us also be futuristic. I want to agree with Senator Edwin Sifuna that we need to have a stipend. But why do we want to have a stipend? It has changed. The best employer all over the world is now sports. A football star, a boxing star, they are paid in figures that you cannot imagine. So what the government should do is not to give money to people who have been immediate sports stars. We should start nurturing the youth, Mr. Speaker, and put professionals alongside them so that each player has got a manager, has got an accountant. What's happening is that these young people go to Europe, they earn millions of dollars, and then they are captured by beautiful women on the streets of London. These beautiful women become their wives only on paper, and when this young man tries to change, he's accused of rape. So the young man must have a manager. We keep them away from the brokers. If you go to Kapsabet, those of us who come from that part of the world, if you drive early in the morning, these children train from 4 a.m. in the morning, and to get that, you'll find these white men driving with four-wheel drives behind them. They are trying to capture these children. So that by the time the young man earns money, we see it on paper, but in practice, it is taken by those people. So the protection should go beyond that. I want to defend the government for those who think that we will do things the way previous governments have been doing. As recently as Mashujaa Day, the government of President Ruto invited a fresh set of heroes. And I'm proud that my area chief for Ilesi Ward was invited, and he was accorded the respect of a hero when he's still alive. Come again? Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have made a mistake of listening to my younger brother.
You are not a member of this house, and you should not reason to censures.
I wanted to help him.
That is the reason I told you last week, 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Make your statements looking directly at my eyes.
Speaker. Mr. Speaker, sir, I wanted to listen to him. I wanted to listen to him so as to help him as follows. He has said that chiefs from Kandui, where he comes from, there is still chicken. That's what he was telling me in Kiluya. I can assure you that these young Luyas who have grown up in Nairobi, they should stick here in Nairobi. The chiefs of Kandui do not steal chicken at all. If the chiefs of Eastlands, where you grew up, steal chicken, that is your business. In fact, this is going, it is becoming, Mr. Speaker, in fact, it is becoming very sad. Another member of parliament, Pungoma, He told our primary school teachers that they are stealing chicken in the name of CBC. The teachers are not stealing chicken. They are actually implementing the flawed policy of former President Uhuru of CBC, which expects that teachers must teach children, showing them the intestines and gizzard of chicken. So where will the teacher get it from? He gets from the parents. So you don't blame the teacher. You blame CBC by removing CBC. I support and I call for a state funeral for this great hero, Wairunge, so that it becomes a nation.
Let us get the last one from Senator Manzo, Daniel.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I had an opportunity to be a Secretary of Sports in the year 2008, and we had successful Olympics then as a country. And Mr. Speaker, when I was in that office, laid down the law to help the youngsters who participate in this country, and even eventually came up with a way of fundraising so that those who retire and eventually are not as active can also get assisted. Mr. Speaker, sports, severe sportsmen very much, and especially boxing, so that their later years are riddled with a lot of misery, bad health, and truly there must be a system of making sure that retired sports people or even active sports people who bring a lot of glory to the country, Mr. Speaker, don't end up in misery and in disgrace. Mr. Speaker, on this particular one, it is very sad that when the president is honoring people during the holidays, the people who apply to be honored are not the sportsmen. They are not even proposed that they can be honored by the president. But the sports managers want to be top of that list. Mr. Speaker, we must change the attitude towards our heroes. They build our country, they brought tourism here, they build the economy. Mr. Speaker, we condole with the family of Mr. Waruinge, wish them well, and Mr. Speaker, say that as a country we must implement the policies we have already made and the law, because it has enough to take care of our sportsmen. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, thank you. We are still under statements understanding under 52.1. Let me call out again Kisumu Senator Professor Tom Odhiambo Ojienda.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to address this House under Order 52.1 and make a statement on a matter of countrywide and inter-county concern. Namely, Mr. Speaker, sir, the border dispute between Kisumu and Nandi counties over Chemelil, Muhoroni, Miwani, Kibigori, Kibos, Koru, and Kopere towns, and most fundamentally, a matter to which the Leader of Majority, Aaron Cheruiyot, hardly a week ago, Mr. Speaker, sir, addressed himself, and that is the question of the border dispute between Kericho and Kisumu counties over the Sondu town area, all located in Kisumu town. Mr. Speaker, sir, the statements by the Leader of Majority elicited a lot of emotional concern from myself not just as the Senator for Kisumu County, but Mr. Speaker, sir, I hail from Nyakach in that sub-county, and therefore Mr. Cheruiyot addressed himself to issues that are very dear to my heart, and that elicited this statement, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, Kisumu County is surrounded by Kericho County to the east, Nandi County to the northeast, Vihiga County to the north. We've had a dispute with Vihiga as well, Siaya to the west, and Homa Bay to the south. The Constitution of Kenya creates the 47 counties as specified under Article 6.1, read with the first schedule of the Constitution. And this forward-looking Constitution, Mr. Speaker, sir, foresaw the likelihood of border disputes between the 47 counties that it created, hence set out a mechanism for peaceful coexistence and the solution of any disputes between the counties. Mr. Speaker, the framework for peaceful resolution of inter-county dispute mechanism is clearly encapsulated in the Constitution and relevant statutes. Specifically, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Intergovernmental Relations Act of 2012, which is Act number 2 of 2012, and the County Governments Act number 17 of 2012, set out a framework for dispute resolution and stipulate the interdependence, Mr. Speaker, sir, of the two levels of government. Consequently, Mr. Speaker, sir, the question of cooperation between the governments is addressed in Article 189 of the Constitution and goes further to preempt situations where disputes may arise and calls upon Parliament to enact legislation to provide procedures for settling these intergovernmental disputes. I am alive, Mr. Speaker, sir, to the fact that a relevant bill has been brought before this House by the current governor of Makueni County on that question, and basically the county boundaries bill is receiving attention from this House. The dispute, my Lord, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we have currently touching on Sondu town and in other areas, I'm aware, Mr. Speaker, sir, that even Meru, Isiolo, Makueni, and Kajiado have disputes. It is important, therefore, that these issues are settled timelessly and properly under Article 188 of the Constitution, and that article, Mr. Speaker, sir, provides that Parliament may set up a commission that may recommend the alteration of a county boundary. To that end, Mr. Speaker, sir, I wish to recommend, and that is why I brought this statement under Order 52.1 of the orders of this House, that this matter be referred to the relevant House committee to intervene and make recommendations on how best to deal with the question of boundary disputes between counties, including the introduction of the county boundaries bill. In the meantime, Mr. Speaker, sir, the leader of majority, Mr. Aaron Cheriot, should keep off Sondu town. Should keep off Sondu town. This is a statement, Mr. Cherargei, just hold on. I know that Nandi also has an issue.
Point of order from
Mr. Speaker, sir.
Mr. Speaker, with all due respect to with all due respect to my learned senior and my teacher, Senator Professor Tom Ojenda, Standing Order 55 is explicit on when you are requesting for statements. I have been following the statement, Mr. Speaker, word by word, but Senator Professor Tom Ojenda is adding sweeping political statements in his submission, which is contravening Standing Order 55, where he talks that shall not be made to the pretext for debate, to be prepared to give information, by number C, convey a particular point of view, and number D, contain any argument, inference, opinion, imputation, or ironical or offensive expression, repeat in substance any matter covered in prior requests, seek an expression of opinion, ask whether the statement in press also to be, Mr. Speaker, Senator Professor Tom Ojenda, by adding and inferring some opinion about the majority leader, Senator Aaron Cheriot, is out of order. He should stick to his statement. If he wants to make political deliberation and statement so that he can be loved in Nyakach and Kisumu County, he should restrict himself to funerals and birthday parties there, Mr. Speaker, or even baby showers there. He can make those statements, Mr. Speaker.
Professor Tom Ojenda, yes, do you attend baby showers?
No, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, clearly.
Okay, proceed. I thought you were mentioning your friend, the majority leader, without any.
Yes, I'm strictly proceeding, you know? Mr. Speaker.
But finish. Avoid doing what
yes,
you did.
I will avoid that, Mr. Speaker.
I was a bit lenient, but now I'm observant.
Under Article 6.2, I'm proceeding strictly under the provision of the Constitution and confining myself to Article 6.2 and Article 188, because there's a recommendation that the Speaker commits this question to the relevant committee of the House. And perhaps, Mr. Speaker, sir, the National Security Committee and the National Cohesion Committee are two committees, Mr. Speaker, sir, that commend the answer to the question. I do not, Mr. Speaker, sir, I am not out of sync under Order 55 because I have not imputed any bad motives on the Majority Leader. He spoke to the questions that I'm addressing myself to. And I'm sure Mr. Cherargei is perhaps rising because he knows that even in Nandi, they are claiming places including my home.
Now, there are several interests here. This statement has elicited a lot of interest. We start with Senator Karungo Dango. Or I can't see you. Oh, intervention. Senator Mboni, what is it?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Professor Ojen is a professor of law, and he knows the doctrine of clean hands. If Professor is seeking for justice, then the doctrine of clean hands demands of you to seek for that justice with clean hands. Professor Jenda, if it is good for you to reclaim your town, which you perceive to be Nandi, when are you going to release Maseno town, which is in Vihiga, for which you have been, for the last 10 years, been collecting revenue, and that town is not in Kisumu? When are you going to bring it back? You will not be allowed to get away with this statement when you don't have clean hands.
Senator Mboni Karware. Yes, sir. Let me now give Senator Cheruyo Talun.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. This is a very important matter. Correct. And when my good neighbor, Senator Professor Ojenda, began, I was actually applauding and cheering him on because I thought he'd canvass it in a different matter. But how he concluded it has left me with questions about whether he really understands the dispute at hand and whether he's in the right frame of mind to prosecute this matter, Mr. Speaker. I say this because, Mr. Speaker, first of all, the video he's referring to is more than 2 years old. If you watch that video, Senator Professor Ojenda, you'd realize that the people I'm addressing are all done in masks. This is a 2020 video. I know it has made rounds the last few weeks, and people think that I spoke that maybe a few days ago. That's not the truth. Secondly, Professor, it will be good for you to know that from Sondu to my home is a walking distance of no more than 25 minutes for a fast walker. For you, maybe it might take an hour. But I would have my good neighbor know that even in that video, I bring it to the attention of the people that are disputing that the main market in Sondu, called the Sondu market, will be opened perhaps maybe the next 2 or 3 weeks, has been built by the county government of Kericho. All the major businesses have their business permits paid to the county government of Kericho. What the issue that I was addressing at that particular time is because of the nature of this town, as such that each time when you're approaching the election, the local politicians, especially members of a county assembly, use it and use this dispute as a political gimmick to raise emotions and say, stop even paying your rates, don't pay licenses. That's why I was speaking to it and saying, if you want to do business in Sondu, everybody is welcome, because Sondu is part and parcel of Kenya. But the mistake that they are making is that you cannot be allowed to trade where you're not paying rates for. Therefore, I agree with him up to the point where he says, perhaps you may want to refer this matter to a competent committee of this House, but I wonder up to when. We have been with this issue for as long as I can remember. Even your governor is aware. We visited that particular place of Sondu in 2016 with your current governor, then as senator, the current MP, your MP for Nyakach. I forget his name, my good friend, the one who was throwing chairs at Bomas with my good friend Ledama. Aduma, I think, that's his name. We were with them in 2016, and that is what gave birth to the County Boundaries Bill. Perhaps a better proposition, which you have put in your statement, Senator Ojenda, which I want to agree with. Let us conclude on this County Boundaries Bill, so that we bring this matter of dispute between Kajiado and Taita Taveta Garissa and Kitui. You know, you can see what is happening. My good friend Senator Wambua is losing his school. You saw him arguing with old men in a particular video because of county disputes, Mr. Speaker. So I want to suggest that as a House, perhaps so that we bring this matter to a conclusion, because this is a problem that permeates across the entire country actually. There's a dispute virtually everywhere. Let us prioritize this particular bill, publish it afresh, then we conclude on this matter amicably, because that's what is expected of us as leaders. Otherwise, making statements such as what you're saying, that I keep off Sondu. Do you know the kind of interest I have in Sondu? Both economic, social, and others that cannot be mentioned, Mr. Speaker, in this House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Speaker, Senator Chalagai, your name was not mentioned, but in Nandi County. Okay, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The reading of Article 188 is very express. When I saw recommendation of Senator Professor Tom Ojenda. Of course, this Standing Order 51 general statement, but I know in your wisdom, under Standing Order 52.3, that you may refer to a relevant committee. This is a serious issue. Nandi and Kisumu, we have even gone to National Land Commission over the boundary dispute that we have had with Kisumu County, Mr. Speaker. And Kisumu County has this habit of been encroaching to Nandi County. I remember when the Privatization Commission came, Mr. Speaker, of privatizing the nucleus of the sugar companies, more so specifically the issue of Chemelil Sugar Company. That, when it was built during, say, Jomo Kenyatta's time, that sugar company was in Nandi. But now when you go there, Mr. Speaker, the Kisumu County government have purportedly taken over. So, Mr. Speaker, the border between us and Kisumu County should go beyond railway line that was built, and it was the wisdom of Wazungu of that time, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, this is a very serious matter, Mr. Speaker. And in fact, Mr. Speaker, Senator Professor Tom Ojenda, who I respect so much because he taught me conveyancing and taught me that in his book he has written, land is an emotive issue, full stop. That's how he has begun his book of conveyancing, Mr. Speaker. He knows very well where he's working to. It's a serious quagmire that as leaders we should not make it through an emotive or sensational statement that you bring into the House, try and accuse one county of encroaching to the other, yet he knows this matter has even given us problems between the boundary between Kisumu and Nandi. But, Mr. Speaker, because of magnanimity of my people, we have tried to be peaceful as we pursue this matter with relevant authorities of National Land Commission. And I agree when he says, Mr. Speaker, lastly, on the Senator Governor Mutula Kilonzo Jr., the current governor of Makueni, proposed the county boundaries bill. If we republish, our Senate Majority Leader has said, it will be able to address so many challenges of boundary that we are facing, Mr. Speaker. So I want to call upon and plead with Senator Professor Tom Ojenda. Whenever, you know, Mr. Speaker, when you are a leader, you must sift out the information. When you go there and people are emotional, don't be part of the people who become emotional. As leader, we come and sit and look if there is need to set up a commission, Mr. Speaker, to look at this issue, Mr. Speaker. When you look at Article 188, the Constitution has tried to come up on how this matter can be resolved, Mr. Speaker. So I want to call upon the House, if this matter is referred according to your discretion, Standing Order 52.3 to any relevant committee, this is not a simple matter. In fact, I will request that it should not go to any committee, it should come to the Senate of the whole committee, Mr. Speaker, so that the issue where we were seeing Senator Wambua engaging some old men over trespassing of the issue of drought and camels grazing in other counties. We have the issue of Vihiga, where my Senator Otozi comes from, the issue of Maseno. We have a number of issues, Mr. Speaker, that dispute that this House must alive. But, Speaker, since we are the protectors of devolution, as has provided for under Article 96, as the Senate and protectors, we must take the front seat and address this boundary once and for all. But for me, Mr. Speaker, Nandi County still stands that Kisumu County, and I thought now that we have a governor who is a professor, a senator who is a professor of law, another one is a professor of political science, I would have thought they would have bring their knowledge and wisdom in resolving this matter in case of going somewhere in the village and declaring. I saw him speaking over the weekend, Mr. Speaker. But I want to appeal to my people from Nandi to remain calm and peaceful as we approach this, because I want to assure the country that the boundary of Nandi is beyond where the railway line passed on. And Senator Professor Tom Ojienda, your people must be ready to pay us revenue, because we provide services up to that fine. With those remarks, Mr. Speaker, I hope this matter should be expedited properly. We have our justice, Kericho County, Nandi County, Vihiga County, and Kisumu County once and for all. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Let me take just two from this side and one more from this side. Ososi Godfrey, Senator Ososi.
Mr. Speaker, I think this statement by my neighbor and my colleague, Honorable Ojienda, is very timely, because the people of Vihiga have been yearning to see this problem, boundary between Kisumu and Vihiga, resolved at Maseno. But as we do that, we need to do that with less emotions, because the people in that area have intermarried, and some have even bought land across the other side. So I want to support the senators who are saying that we need, as a Senate, to take leadership and ensure that we implement Article 188, which says that we need to set up an independent commission which will guide this process. And how I wish, Mr. Speaker, that this should be done before IBC starts implementing Article 89, the limitation of electoral units. I also want to say that it's not just Kisumu that we are having a boundary issue with. We also have a problem with Nandi County, represented by Honorable Cheregei, at a place called Musasa, which is still a dispute area between Vihiga and Nandi County. And I believe there are many other places like Makueni and Machakos. So, Senate has to take leadership on this matter and have this matter addressed as soon as possible, so that our people live without tension among themselves. Mr. Speaker, during election, some people put a permanent stamp just beyond the border after Maseno school, and that was very irritating. We had to cool down our people not to fight. But I expect that within this period of this Senate, we'll be able to resolve this problem of boundaries between counties amicably, without having to get our people to fight each other. Because for my case, Vihiga people and Kisumu people on the boundary have lived peacefully for many years, and they should continue doing that, because I have even intermarried. I even own land near Maseno there. So we should not make it emotive. We do it peacefully and within the law. I support the statement by Honorable Ojienda.
Senator William Cheptumo. Senator Kalwala, you know,
You're not making it. I have the floor.
You don't have the floor. Clearly you don't have the floor.
You can't be two of you.
And you know, we said, I made a ruling that you must also put the standing order
Mr. Speaker,
that you are using to
Mr. Speaker, is the Honorable Senator for Vihiga, who was elected by the people of Vihiga to protect the county of Vihiga and defend the interests of the people of Vihiga, in order to say that the only reason why he doesn't mind the boundary the way it is because of intermarriages. Mr. Speaker, Vihiga does not stop where we are being it does. Maseno is in Vihiga. Lela is in Vihiga. Julaimbo is in Vihiga, and the senator knows that. Mr. Speaker, this matter is so serious because when we share revenue, we use population. The population of Vihiga, which would account for the money that would be due to Vihiga, is counted in Kisumu. Mr. Speaker, when we collect on-source revenue, there's on-source revenue of Vihiga due from Maseno Town, from Lela, and from Julaimbo goes to Kisumu. It is a matter far more important than emotions of marriage and so on. What is marriage? Even some of us, our wives are not lawyers. But we have not ceded the boundary of Kakamega simply because our wives come from outside Kakamega. Is in order, Mr. Speaker? How many wives do you have? Mr. Speaker, a monogamist is here trying to find out how many.
Senator William Cheptumo, and kindly let us just make a comment on these statements. Let's not debate 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Just a statement to support. As Senator Sosi.
Mr. Speaker, if you listen to me carefully, I did not say that the only reason why we are not resolving this matter in time is because of intermarriage. I said the people of Vihiga would want this matter resolved, but peacefully and within the law. And the first step of doing that is to implement Article 188. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Khalware is out of order to explain that the only reason why we should not fight our brothers on the other side is because of intermarriage. In fact, Mr. Speaker, the people who talk loudly about this issue are the people who stay very far from Maseno, like Khalware here. But the people who stay near the boundary like us, we would like this matter resolved amicably, peacefully, and lawfully.
Proceed, Senator William Cheptumo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I will be very brief on this one because if you read the wording of Article 188, it says the boundaries of a county may be altered. Mr. Speaker, what that means, Mr. Speaker, what's happening with the majority leader?
Proceed, Senator William. He is okay.
Mr. Speaker, what that article says is that our county boundaries are known. That's the beginning point. The boundaries between Baringo and Turkana is known. Between Kisumu, Kericho, Nandi are known. That is the beginning of Article 188. So that, Mr. Speaker, the alteration will be only done by considering items under Sub-Article 2, physical and human infrastructure, historical and cultural ties, and physical, geographical, and so on. So, Mr. Speaker, I just want to agree with the proposal by my classmate, Honorable Senator Senior Counsel Chenda. That the best way, Mr. Speaker, is to really pass that law on the commission on the boundaries of counties. And Mr. Speaker, the work is already done. I'm told already there's a bill. I think, Mr. Speaker, our people may not be very keen to see us arguing here and raising emotions. In fact, at some point, Mr. Speaker,
lower teachers' morale and cause untold trauma to many teachers.
As we debate this issue, let us be careful so that we don't again begin to make
that the exercise was not supported with a clear policy framework and was initiated without the participation of teachers or their unions, contrary to Articles 118 and 132 of the
Mr. Speaker,
Constitution
you
on
need to
public
forgive my-
participation and involvement of the people
He's learning.
in the process of
And-
policy
and-
making,
From this
and
side,
cognizant of
Okay,
the fact
okay.
that the localization of teachers
So,
is
Mr.
inconsistent
Speaker,
with the
I
United
want us to
Nations
agree that we need to
Educational,
pass the
Scientific
law.
and Cultural
And, Mr. Speaker, this is a
Organization,
bigger
UNESCO,
problem.
teacher deployment
Apart from
practice,
the county
which treats education as
boundaries,
a culture process
there is
conducted
the
within a
issue
people's
of
cultural context
inter-sub-counties
at the local
boundaries
level.
in some areas.
Honorable Speaker,
And I think this
I
law is
beg this
limiting
House
to
to
only the
resolve
issue
that the
of
Teacher
county
Service
boundaries.
Commission
So, Mr.
immediately
Speaker, let us perhaps
reverses
pass
the
this law,
ongoing
deal with the
delocalization
issue
of
of,
teachers
county
and
boundaries,
initiates a
and perhaps
comprehensive
we may need
review
also to think
of
through
the
and
teacher
see
deployment
how do we
policy
resolve the
with the
county-
involvement of teachers
the
in
boundary
order
issues
to make
within
the policy
sub-counties. Mr.
consistent
Speaker,
with
these are issues
International
that
Labour
members of this
Organization,
House, the other
ILO,
House,
and
during
UNESCO
campaign,
laws
they use
and
it to make the
practices
political
on teacher management
scores
and
so
deployment.
that they really gain
Honorable
or
Speaker,
lose or something. So,
want
Mr.
to
Speaker, I want
thank
to
God
say that
for the
this
opportunity he
House
has given me
should move
and
with
to thank
speed
the people of
and pass that
Lurambi
law.
for
And I think will
electing
reduce
me,
this tension
for
as we
the
go by.
second
And
time.
Mr. Speaker,
And
finally,
Honorable Speaker,
for you to realize
as
how
I
important
move
this
this
article is
motion,
important,
we are all aware
that commission
that we
must be
have a problem
passed
in
by
our schools.
the National Assembly
Education
and this House.
is what we can
Mr.
give
Speaker, we will be able to be counted as a serious Senate if we pass this law. And therefore, I support the discussion going on this particular motion by my classmate, Honorable Chenda.
Kindly 2 minutes each, Senator Wambua. 2 minutes, Senator Orendama.